We'd like to show, and we try to argue in the side event this afternoon, is that adaptation is different from mitigation from many viewpoints, but in particular with respect to financing. And what we try to show with some preliminary numbers, but quite effective, is that investment in adaptation, investment in infrastructure to protect coastal zones, harbors, and other infrastructures or whatever, prevention or a warning system or other tools, technology that could be developed for adaptation to climate change, at the end provide a benefits both in terms of deficit and in terms of debt. What we did was to compute the expected damages from climate change in the coming years, to compute the investments that would be necessary to reduce these damages, and we see that initially there is a burden on public deficit, but it lasts for a few years, and then eventually, after 5 or 6 years, the positive side emerges because what happens is that the avoided damages are much larger than the cost of these investments. And this is an argument which is quite important here in Europe, because in Europe, in many cases, in particular in those countries with high deficits and high debts, the idea is that the economic crisis and the economic instability and the financial crisis of the last 3 years imply that it's impossible now to finance these kind of investments. What we show is that there is a double dividend, double benefits. On the one hand, it is possible, and on the other hand, deficits and debt decline rather than increase. And this is an argument for European policymakers not to stop thinking about adaptation, to move ahead with national adaptation plans, and to support these national adaptation plans with financial resources. Even public finance, of course, a lot of adaptation will take place through private resources, but even public resources can be allocated to adaptation because these will reduce the deficits rather than increase the deficits.
Fab. And just a quick one, I mean, in terms of levels of finance that are required and levels of finance that you think will be seen over the next couple of years, can you give us any figures?
Yes, the level of finance is going to be large, and at the world level, the different estimates range from, say, 40 to 110 billions per year. But we need to start in those places which are more vulnerable and for those activities that are more relevant with respect to the immediate changes or the immediate impacts of climate change. So I think that with much less than that, we can deal with the most important damages from climate change. It's really crucial to have this vision, this medium-term perspective, because with this kind of medium-term perspective, not only the world will be more sustainable, but even public budgets and deficits and debts will be more sustainable than what they are. Exactly because of the avoided damages. We are spending a lot of money. The case of last year, case of Sandy, for example, is quite interesting. Sandy, one event costed 4% of the total GDP in New York and 9% of total GDP in New Jersey. Of course, if this is the size of the damages, and if you can avoid these damages, then you save resources, you save public resources that can be used in other ways.